Hello everybody, in this video we test the three mobility backpacks, the jump pack, hover pack and the warp pack based on how they actually perform in real use cases. We'll start with some basic tests, then see how each one performs against the different enemy factions. All three have the same call-in time and the same cooldown. The recharge times, however, are different. The jump pack is a bit harder to time because of the momentum. The hover pack gets you over easily, but you can't cancel it, so you waste time in the air. The warp pack gets you through the fastest. For one use travel distance, the jump pack covers a lot of ground very quickly. The hover pack can reach a similar distance but much slower. The warp pack covers a smaller distance but it recharges much faster. You can also squeeze out a bit more distance by warping during a dive. For climbing buildings, the jump pack works well if you start from the right height and you can grab a ledge mid-air to climb up. The hover pack can lift you higher, but you have to wait for it to end and you can't grab ledges while hovering. The warp pack has very limited vertical range, so you need a higher starting point or a risky double warp that damages you. While using the jump pack, you can shoot, but aiming is very unreliable. Throwing grenades is possible too, but it's very hard to predict where they'll land. The hover pack is clearly designed for this. You're slightly less accurate, but you can aim and shoot freely. Grenades behave almost like you're on the ground. The warp pack is different. You can't do anything during the warp itself, but right before or after. Also, in all cases, weapons keep their charge like the quasar cannon. Downhill movement heavily favors the jump pack. You can travel much farther when dropping down. The warp pack can only adjust to small height differences, so it often leaves you in mid-air and you just fall. The hover pack doesn't really offer anything special here. For heavy weapons that require you to stand still while reloading, the jump pack lets you reload mid-air, but the animation still has to finish after you land. The hover pack doesn't allow this at all. With the warp pack, you can start the reload, but warping will cancel it. When fleeing from large enemy groups like the Voteless, the jump pack gives you a lot of distance, but the long recharge means every jump has to count. The hover pack is generally bad for escaping, except when you aim for rooftops against melee enemies. Generally, it's better to fight back when you are in the air. The warp pack allows for more mistakes thanks to its fast recharge, but the distance is short, so warping through walls is usually the best option. Against the Illuminate, the jump pack feels really strong. It's great for climbing buildings to deal with Voteless, and it's good for getting away fast. You still have to plan ahead because of the recharge time. It also fits really well with a sniper or scout playstyle since you can easily get on rooftops and jump between them. At the same time, if things get messy, it still lets you play more aggressively and stay close when you need to, and get away. Honestly, this is probably my favorite pack against the Illuminate. The hover pack feels very different. Because it's slower, you really need to keep your distance from enemies. It clearly works best for a sniper or scout style, where positioning matters a lot. Since you stay in the air for quite a while, you have to think ahead and plan your moves. It basically forces you to slow down and play more carefully. For example, here, the height was not enough and I couldn't grab the ledge, so I just floated in the air without getting anywhere. The warp pack, on the other hand, is all about fast, close-range plays. You go in, take your shots, then reposition immediately. Warping through walls makes it easy to lose enemies, which makes it perfect for hit-and-run fights against the Illuminate. And I will rank each of the backpacks for each faction using the following categories: positioning, getting where you want fast, like rooftops and terrain; escape, getting away from enemies; Combat flexibility, how well the backpack works while you're actively fighting. The tiers are good, okay, and not so good. Let's see, for the Illuminate jump pack, good positioning and combat flexibility, but escape is only okay because you have to keep in mind the recharge time and have to time every jump. Hover pack, positioning and escape are fine, but combat flexibility is not so good since you're stuck in the air for a long time and movement speed in the air is slow. If there are only melee enemies, combat is okay too. Warp pack, not great for positioning because of the limited vertical distance, but very strong for escape and close range combat. Against the Terminids, the jump pack is once again really good for escaping, but the situation is a bit different here. You know, most Terminid maps aren't city maps, so you're not jumping between buildings as much. What it's great for though is quickly diving into nests and getting out again. Since these maps usually have a lot of hills and uneven terrain, downhill movement is a big advantage for the jump pack. Another big plus is that most Terminids are melee enemies, so simply creating distance already keeps you safe. If you're skilled with it, you can also use the jump pack to dodge charges or even bile titans. Overall, using it effectively against Terminids definitely takes more skill compared to the other factions. Against the Terminids, the hover pack is honestly not that great. You really have to keep your distance at all times. The main thing it's useful for is hovering over nests and sniping bug holes from above. The problem is what happens when you land. As soon as you touch the ground, the bugs just swarm you. It's also not very good for escaping on its own because a lot of Terminids can jump high enough to hit you while you're still in the air. The Warp Pack is actually really strong. It lets you dodge charges and Bile Titan attacks very consistently. It's good for general movement and it's great for escaping. When you're completely swarmed and can't move, this thing is a lifesaver. You can just warp out and reset the fight. It also works extremely well with flamethrower weapons. You drop a wall of fire, warp backwards, and just repeat. That combo feels really strong against Terminids. Here are my ratings. Jump pack positioning is only okay since there aren't many buildings, but escape and combat are good because creating distance already shuts down most melee Terminids. Hover pack positioning is okay for hovering over nests, but escape and combat are not so good since bugs can hit you midair and you usually get swarmed when you land. Warp pack positioning is okay due to the lack of buildings, but escape and combat are good because it lets you dodge attacks, reposition instantly, and survive when you're surrounded. Against the Automatons, the jump pack feels very risky. It can help you close the distance or escape, but you're extremely exposed while flying and right after landing. Since most enemies are ranged and there are turrets everywhere, you often get shot out of the air or instantly punished when you touch the ground. It does have some niche uses though. Breaking into fortresses can work, and in a clean 1 versus 1, you can use it to get behind a Hulk and shoot its back, but overall it feels very unnatural against bots, and I constantly feel like I'm gambling every time I use it. The hover pack feels even worse than the jump pack. You stay in the air for so long that it basically feels like you're telling the bots, you know, please shoot me, I'm right here. With all the ranged enemies and turrets, you're just an easy target. It has some very niche uses like breaking into fortresses or pulling off a trick play, for example landing on top of a factory strider. But outside of stuff like that, it's just not effective at all against bots. The Warp Pack is okay, it works for escaping and it can support a more aggressive playstyle. I can see it working well with smoke. You break in, call down a hell bomb and then just disappear. That said, it's still harder to consistently dodge automaton attacks with it, especially compared to fighting bugs. On the bot front, I personally prefer more defensive options, like the shield pack. Here are the ratings. Jump pack. The jump pack is just okay for positioning and escape, because there are fortresses. But in combat, it feels risky, since you're exposed in the air and during landing against ranged enemies and turrets. Hover pack. The hover pack is okay for basic positioning, but it's not so good for escaping or combat, because staying in the air for that long against bots basically turns you into an easy target. Warp pack. The warp pack ends up being the most balanced option here. Positioning and escape are okay, and it also works okay in combat, especially for aggressive plays like smoke pushes and quick objective hits, even if dodging attacks still takes practice. So overall, none of these backpacks are straight up better than the others. They just shine in very different situations, and which one feels best really depends on the faction and how you like to play. If this helped you decide which one to use, leave a like, it really helps the channel. And if you want more tests like this, consider subscribing. Thank you for watching, bye.